Rushmore show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Kirk, what's up, man?
I figured I'd do a little duo with you.
Yeah, let's duo it. Yeah.
All I got is this Guitar Hero, which we'll be doing Guitar Hero later in the year. But yeah, that's the old Guitar Hero there. Little whammy bar on it. Hey, so welcome to the Rushmore show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. So, man, what a fun time it's going to be. Thanks for holding up for me. I just made a mistake tonight, and I forgot my glasses. Over at my son's practice, and I had to run and go get them. So that pushed us back. I appreciate everybody who is patient. So as you guys come on in, say hello. Andy, we are in week 3. Is this week 3?
This is week 3.
Of hello, girl dad. Are you the only one in here?
No. Apparently, it's just me right now. So nobody saw our awesome duet.
Well, that stinks. So somebody else is here. You're going to have to go back and look at the duet. So welcome to the Rushmore show. We are going to chat more about music today. We are in a series of music that is, last week we did boss battles. The week before we did guitar solos. And today we're going to talk about guitarists again, and we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to do a lot of guitars this time frame around, but this one's going to be guitar duos. So if you're out there, say hello to the chat. And man, I think I won this week, Andy, but nobody's voting, and that's up PNX. Nobody's really voting out there in the wide world web. Barry in the house. We're rolling. Oh, here we go. Everybody got the news that we're showing up. I apologize. I left my glasses and I had to go get them. So
let's do our duet again, Kirk.
Oh, let's do it again.
Duet again. Now that
we go. You ready?
Welcome to the Rushmore show, where it's all about your top 4 and nothing more.
I can tell you what we're not going to be on. We're not going to be on the mountain of duos tonight. And tonight we're talking about guitar duos. Man, as we go in through the chat, you nail them out down there at the bottom. But I do want to share with you, we have been, for the last couple weeks and months, doing good night. We've been doing a little poll on our Instagram. And make sure when you see the poll that you actually vote, and that would be the best guitar duo is me and Noah. He has already chosen which of the guitars in the house is his. Oh, okay. So look, we have a great guest tonight. Haven't seen him in a while. Him and one of our good buds who was just on here used to kind of roll in this same format and talk a little reselling and video games and their world. And I missed him. And he also did a little fantasy football with us this year. He actually knocked me out the playoffs. But I beat him in the regular season. He knocked me out in the, I think. Is that correct?
And I think I knocked him out of the playoffs. I knocked someone out of the playoffs. I think it was.
Yeah, and then
I got knocked out.
Brother won it. But yeah, so fantasy football. Yeah, we're not going to do a whole bunch of other things, but listen, a couple things that I want to share. Next week, we are doing a really cool special. We'll have Cellcast on, and our new buddy, John. John's coming all the way. Listen, John is coming all the way from, is it Norway? Switzerland?
International guest.
Finland? I don't know. He's coming from a long ways away to join in, and we're going to talk our best, our albums that define us. And it is going to be awesome. It's going to be like your life soundtrack. And so make sure you come and show John and Drew some love next week. But let's jump into this one here. We're going to do one of my favorite parts of the band, Andy. And you're a drummer, but you also do like to partake in some other instruments. And I know that at least during worship and a few other things, you've jumped on the guitar quickly and done some worship for us a few times. And you can hold your own, but we're going to talk about some of the greatest of all time. Like these guys are rock gods compared to anything that I can even think of. And we're going to talk about bands this week, and we're going to talk about those bands that have the greatest guitar duos of all time. Now, this list was tough. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys got a great list, and I am stalling to get to the video, and there it is. Let's do it. So we're here. Bryce is in the house. PNX is in the house. PNX, I'm excited. I don't know if you saw it, but I started a little chitty chat on the Facebook side because you now have a partner for your Rushmore coming in nostalgia. And when I started that up, and I just nailed another one on the way here. Another amazing creator. Love Thy Nerd is coming on.
Yes.
And they're coming on in August, and that's going to be a great time. So let's get started. Today we're going to invite our friend. You guys probably seen him out on Picking Preachers. I really wanted to say the rest of that. Picking Preachers. Yeah, what you got there? What you got there? Yeah, I see Andy Guitar. Picking Preachers podcast. He doesn't have his own YouTube. He probably should. He probably could. But he is a reseller. He partnered up with Keith, and they started a little podcast. And, man, we loved it for a while. We followed around. Matter of fact, on that podcast, I finally got it, but I won a Wii on that podcast, and it's here. But let's welcome to the show our friend, that flipper dude, Steve Burnett. Welcome to the show.
What up?
Let's do this thing. Steve, you last
There
year.
it is. Yes. Come on.
There it is. There it is. Last year, we talked. You came on the show. Remind me, we did movies, didn't we? Did we do movies?
Yeah, we did.
90s nostalgia?
Nostalgia, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, 90s nostalgia. It's so funny how I kind of remember people by what show they were on with us, except for like our buddy Paul, who's been on 9 times. But I can't remember all the ones he's been on. But when you were on, you were like, man, I really wish I could have been on during music because music is probably one of my favorite things. Can you hit me up back when we come around for music? So this time going around, I just threw a flyer out and said, hey, we're booking music. You want in? And, man, he jumped in. Robert, what's up, man? Thanks for being here. Thanks for always supporting us. Thanks for being amazing. We can't say thank you enough. We are so close, guys. I think we're 150 hours or something away from full-on monetization. We broke 1,300 this week. We're at like 1,310 now. We're consistently growing. It's fun. On the Instagram side and the Facebook side, you guys are just amazing to us. Just throwing this out there, the record for the most live ever, Steve, is 41 at one time. And that has almost been broken a few times. What's up, Isaac in the house, Bryce in the house. So here's the deal. You shout out to me and you're like, hey, I want to be on music. Tell us what have you been doing for the last few months that you haven't been hanging out at Picking Preacher's place? And tell us why music. What's your love of music? Do you play? What do you play? Why do you play? And so just so the friends know who you are and what you're doing. If you have any place that they can find some of the stuff you're doing, share it. And then we'll get into the show.
Yeah. Since the last time we talked, I've just been dealing with my eBay business and my new venture of owning a Airbnb, which has been crazy. But and I asked you guys to jump into music because that's been my whole life has been revolved around music for the most part. I am a drummer. Got my first drum set when I was 13 years old. probably not the best decision.
It was the best decision.
And I played for quite a few years in rock bands and whatever, and took a pretty big hiatus, and then ended up being asked to play at church one day, and played in the worship band for quite a few years, and haven't played in a while though, man. I kind of took the drums have taken a back seat. My girls got too involved in softball to play.
Let's go.
So I don't really play anymore. We were talking about that earlier, but so yeah, I mean, I'm just and I love all kinds of music, man. I'm not, I went through that phase when I was younger where, if you
It's
listen,
not a phase.
if you listen to metal and all that, you weren't allowed to listen to anything else, so. But I've since grown out of that phase, and I love everything all over again, man. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
and I am a plethora of useless information, my friend.
None of it is useless.
Here's the thing. I was kind of thinking about this the other day. I was like, Andy, we probably need to get a third person on here, okay? And when I was thinking about that, it was because Andy takes hiatus sometimes for mission trips, and I'm always doing softball. And I was like, man, Steve is a plethora of useless knowledge, and he's already done this show before. I probably should reach out to him.
We're hiring, Steven.
Yeah, we're hiring.
We don't pay.
But anyways, man, I can't wait to see what your list is today. But I do want to touch on something you've mentioned. I didn't realize this until a couple months, but I think I was on your guys' show or vice versa, and you had mentioned softball, and I reached out to you in the private chat, and we've been chatting about our daughters kind of doing this travel ball thing, and I salute you because I don't know what I'm going to do when I hit the day that you hit a couple months back.
Yeah.
His daughter, Andy, played her last college game this past season.
Yeah.
And she planned on going to transfer and get another fifth year, and she didn't.
Yeah.
And my heart hurt. I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do on that day. I don't know.
Man. Me and Andy were talking about it earlier, right? It's been very, very difficult. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna need a vacation from my sorrow. I can tell you that.
Well, the good thing is being on the Rushmore show is a lot like therapy. So we're gonna help you out today. Okay. So.
Oh man.
So, well, let's jump into this. So everybody in the chat, don't go nowhere. Help us out. Couple things. Follow along with us. Leave your favorite or your top 4 guitar duos of all time. Now here it is. I messaged the guys, so let's kind of clear the air. I messaged some of the guys, so text is kind of weird. What is a guitar duo? So I was like, okay, so I get the concept. I got a whole list of bands. Are we talking about, and now I'm going to use a band that we're not going to use tonight because they're disqualified. Okay, so here's the deal. First off, I said, does any guitar count? And they said bass guitar is out, just basically acoustic and electric, basically people that are doing lead guitar or rhythm, something like that, no bass. So no bass lines. And I was like, all right, that's out. So the band I'm going to use is Rush because they have a guitarist and a bass guy. And so I asked, hey, so next, is our Rushmore tonight going to be Rush because they have Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee? Or is the Rushmore going to be Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, who plays in Rush? Now, to me, it was a big deal because there are some bands that have 2 guitarists, but the band is amazing, not just because of the 2 guitarists. So that basically eliminates any of the amazing bands that have really good drummers or bassists. Along with those 2 guys, we're voting just basically for the 2 guys. And then we're going to talk about the bands that they're in, obviously. I mean, that was obvious. But the main Rushmore part of this is the 2 duo guitarists. So with that being said, it took me a while to kind of dig into it. So it might take you a minute to kind of think of who all those bands. So if you want to start Googling right now, you guys in the chat, some of the bands that we're going to be chatting about, you can pull that. Now, here's the fun part. A lot of bands we talk about, like Rush, are...
I was there too, Kevin. I was at that show. Rush.
Oh, yeah.
40th anniversary.
Are basically like a 3, 4, 5-part band, which only has one guitar, one bass, one drummer, one singer, that kind of deal. And so all of those are out, things like Rush and Van Halen and all these guys, Rage Against the Machine, which I talk about all the time. That eliminates those guys because they only have one guitarist, one bassist, one singer, that kind of thing. So the list should be a little different tonight than normal. But there are, to me, some upper echelon and then some deep cuts. So it'd be interesting to see where we go. And obviously, like I always say out there, Steve and everybody that may be new here, Rushmores to us are personal. So it's your opinion, but it's what you've gone through, right? Steve, you are in Texas. Now, we're not going to hate on you because of Texas, but in Texas, you don't have really great football in the NFL anymore. So if you mention greatest football players of all time, you're probably going to go back a few years.
Yeah.
But most people would put, Tom Brady on that list, and I wouldn't have him. I wouldn't have him just because I don't like him. Andy wouldn't have him. Now, if we're saying who do you think are the best all time, not Rushmore, he's on that list almost everywhere. Yeah. But who is my Rushmore? He's not there. He's just not there. So it really depends on where you live.
He's below Breeze. We can all agree on that.
So it really depends on where you live, how old you are, who you guys were talking about. What's your influence? We were talking about our grandparents, our dad, and the type of music they listen to. That keys into a lot of this.
Sure.
On who you grew up in, what era or decade. What the radio was like back then, you know what I mean? Or on that station. So with that being said, everybody should have some good picks tonight. And you're up first, Steve. So when you were putting your list together, what was the main things you had to have? Let's keep the main thing. What was your criteria when you're like, gosh, this is what makes these the best for me?
It had to be, obviously, both of the guitar players had to be able to switch off without any issues, one just as good as the other for the most part, They had to be melodic. Everything had to be precision, I mean, and it had to be tasteful for sure, it couldn't be garbage. And that was basically it.
Well, that's unfortunate because my list is only garbage. So,
well, I hope you don't have garbage on there because that
would even have one guitarist in garbage.
I don't know, but they were. That was the best name ever.
The greatest band name of all time. The most fitting band name of all time. Anyway,
big producer Vic.
Well, yeah, their music is I can't get. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about tonight. We're going to start with you. So we're going to start off with our Roosevelt. He's the first one off the list. Sometimes the toughest one because he's kind of the gatekeeper, as we like to say. Where did you go for your first one on your list? Your Rosie, number 4 of guitar duos. What you got?
So with my Rosie, this one was a really tough one for me. This group kind of set it off for me. They're the ones that introduced me to this whole duo guitar thing. And they had to be on the list, but man, I was struggling really hard. I'm going to tell you right now, it came down to a coin flip right at the very end. But my Rosie is Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
Gary Rossington and Alan Collins.
So, wow, good pick. So this is obviously very instrumental in your time. Why these guys? Now, this is a great band. I'm not knocking it at all, but I want to hear what your side of the story is.
Dude, one word: Freebird.
But no,
Free
hate on
bird.
that. I will, the only hesitation I have with this band, and we can talk about this. They've had 47,000 guitarists.
Right.
So
We talked
There's-
about
At
that.
one time, they had 3 at the same time.
Yeah.
They're
But I
one
do
of the
like this
famous
bit.
trio bands of all time.
Well, that's why I mentioned the exact 2 guitar players I was referring to, because it has been a long list.
So here's the deal. A reason I say this is they were as high as my 3 sometime in the middle of last week. And then I bumped them right off this morning.
Yeah.
Not this morning. I moved them down to 4. They had been hanging around 4, right where you got them. And I bumped them off at lunch today. And I redid my list. And I even bumped my number 3 that was ahead of them. And I have a new 3 and 4 today.
which 2 specific ones are you talking about here?
Do what?
Rossington.
Oh, Gary
Which
Rossington and Alan Collins.
Okay,
now-
all right. That's what I thought. Okay.
Those are the 2 guys that I would have picked as
They
well.
started it off. Yeah. I mean, but
Yeah.
see, technically, I mean, you can almost cheat a little bit with them because their 3rd guitar player was that good too.
And that was the other thing, is that not only did they have
Yeah.
2, it was a trio. And again, I'm not hating on this pick. That was I think that was for me what bumped them off. But
Well, and like I said, right up until the last minute for me, it was a coin flip. And my first honorable mention was the one that lost out to him on the coin flip. So and the reason I had to put them on the list is because they kind of opened my eyes to this whole thing, the dual guitar players,
mm-hmm.
So I had to put them on there.
Bonus points for Rosington being an OG.
Oh yeah.
I mean, is he the only original? He's
no.
got
You
is there
mean
more?
he's dead now, but
Well, yeah. Well, I meant as of recent, but like
no,
he was
Alan was one of the original guitar players.
right, but he only played through. What I meant is was he the longest tenured Rosington?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah,
He was in the band all the way up until he just recently died. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dennis
I
thinks
see
he
what
can
you're
guess
saying.
my George. Dennis, text me, and I will blink twice if you got it correct.
It is. I can guess. You're. I hope you have the guy that I hope you have the band that I think is number 1.
I mean, there's
But
only
anyway.
one number 1. There's only one number 1. That should be
And I feel the same way. I bet you could do the same thing for me. Yeah. So anyways,
I know where you're. I know at least one of your top 4. I wouldn't be surprised if it's your George.
I did put just plain sheer talent as a part of the category. I really did.
Oh,
I mean,
easy. I mean,
thank you for being here, man. I miss you, man. We got to get you back on soon. So, yeah, good pick. I'm not against this pick. I wanted to hear it because, man, I was fighting to put them on and not put them on, and it's a great all-time band. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And rightfully so. If we had 30 people here, they're on 25 lists.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and so I just bumped them last minute just because. Honestly, I'll explain that on my turn because here's my turn right here coming up.
yeah.
And I was just kind of sending this out on the old IG. Making a little post. So I agree with what you said. Here's the difference between Andy and Steve and I. I'm not a musician. Okay. So I don't hear the music the same way you guys hear it. I love watching certain YouTubers out there like Rick Beato, right? We love I love listening to that guy. But he's always doing the little do no, and I don't do any of that. Like I'm like, that doesn't. I don't see what you're doing there. I remember when you were trying to teach me, Andy, when you were here at my house. You were trying to teach me a little bit about Bonham's lick, right? And I was like, I still don't get it. What are you talking about? That little spot right there. I'm like, nah, I don't know. I don't know what you mean. But I like his drumming, and it's amazing. So I'm not looking at it honestly as if I'm a music teacher of sorts. I'm not looking at it on a more of a an actual critical basis because I'm not a musician. So I kind of had to put that out because here's the deal. Like I watched Rick Beato's what are the best top 20 bands with two guitarists in it, right? And so when he said that, when he said Crazy Lady B up in the house, welcome, you're lurking over there. I see you. Thanks for being here. So when I watched it, he one of the first things he mentioned was I have to name both of the guitarists. And I'm like, well, my list would be really short. It'd be super short. Not because if I look him up and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that name, but it's not something that I store in my memory. The guy who's playing third in the band, right? But if you asked me who the backup catcher was in 1975 for a certain team, not everyone, but like it's just not my thing. So I had to kind of eliminate that criteria. So I just was like, okay, here it is. I pulled up all the bands I could possibly find that had two guitarists. And then I said, these are my favorite. And then who had at least one great guitarist on there. And then I went and listened to the music and I tried to decipher that there was at least two of those going. And I'm like, are both of those good? So I've been listening to music for like last 3 weeks of like all these bands. And I'm like, I love them. One thing I learned was a lot of the bands that were on the list, I love them sometimes. Like there's a lot, oh, I love that song, but I don't really love them as a band. And I'm sure some of those are going to be mentioned tonight, at least in the comments. And it's just not a band I ever followed. So this list was hard. Now, with all that being said, going in hot, you guys went in hot. I went in hot. I had Skynyrd at 3. And then I bumped them down to 4. They had been sitting at 4 for the last maybe week and a half, 2 weeks. And then I started putting my list back together again. And I said, okay, well, let's see what's here. And honestly, 2 weeks ago, we did guitar solos. And Freebird, I had it on my list, Lynyrd Skynyrd. But I also had this one on my list. And it's Andy. Andy, you said they're one of the most overrated bands of all time. I ended up bringing up from the depths of the honorable mentions Guns N' Roses. And I went with Slash and Izzy. And mainly because Slash is just that freaking good. And when I went and listened to some of this stuff that was happening, Izzy held that back rhythm pretty good. And I just, there's so many hits that I love from the late 80s, early 90s that really, and we talked about this, Andy. They're one of those bands that they hit like a wall and just fell off. Like they didn't like tail off. It was like, boom, they just stopped. And then they came back for a reunion and were like, it's not the same. It's not the same. But going back to those first few albums and what I saw, I love all that. And these are two guys that I actually knew without having to look them up. That was another thing. This is one of those bands that I know both of them. So I'm coming out, to me, pretty hot. I'm going with Guns N' Roses, Slash, and Izzy Stradlin.
Look, they're overrated in my opinion, but there are some bangers that they put out. So you can't, again, just like when we talked about overrated games, right? We talked about those things before. It's not that they're bad games. I just think the hype is too much for what the product is. And it's the same thing with bands for me. Now, I will tell you if a band sucks. Like we already talked about Garbage, and I've made my opinions very clear about bands that I can't stand. But it's not that I can't stand Guns N' Roses. They're flash in a pan. They were no denying their talent and their songwriting. But it was after those, top 5 songs or whatever that they have, in just my opinion, the drop off from their great songs to the next list of songs is deep, in my opinion. But I do like this pick. How can we talk about guitarists and not talk Slash? If Slash has a duo, he's going to be mentioned today. I totally agree with that.
What's kind of interesting about Guns N' Roses is I bet if you really looked at it, some of their later duos might even be better, to be honest. I mean, Slash is awesome, but they had a couple of pairs that took over later on that were both really good. So I don't know. But yeah, I'm a Guns N' Roses fan for sure.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses is a lot of. I can remember sitting in my bedroom, listening through the walls, because I had an older sister, and her that was her style of music. Was Guns N' Roses and the Motley Crues and all of that time frame, and hearing it, and it was very it was very developmental for some of the type of musics that I started to love. And it was also kind of that taboo music for me at that time. My sister was listening to it, but I really probably shouldn't have been. But I was like, oh, yeah, what's that? What is that? Oh, yeah. And so I really fell in love with a lot of that. But again, after the mid 90s or whatever, they kind of just disappeared for a while. And
well,
what could have been?
I don't actually agree with Andy, though. I don't think they're overrated.
It's okay. You don't have,
yeah. I mean, mainly because it is probably one of the greatest debut albums of all time, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Other than
I can respect that. I think, the amount of hits alone that are on Appetite are just staggering.
I think Axl is the one that's probably overrated. Everybody else in the band is,
I will say this, though. When Slash joined Velvet Revolver, it was fantastic, too.
Oh, unbelievable.
Velvet Revolver is amazing.
Yes.
Well, Slash is... I remember as a kid, I didn't realize how good Slash was. I thought it was just kind of like a shtick, right? Like kind of like at wrestling, like this is his gimmick, right? And as I got older, I realized how amazing what he was doing was, and that that was he was just a weird guy, right? And so I really even loved him more later than I actually did back in the beginning. So, anyways, that's going to be my number 4. And man, I had them off the mountain, and I almost let Andy talk me out of that one. But I'm just playing. Honestly, Andy, you had zero to do with it. But I did want to throw that out because last week you mentioned, I think it was, or the week before, in just passing and talking, like if we were talking about overrated bands, and you're like, and that was the song playing at the time, and I was like, yeah, you think? But anyways, all right, so Andy, you're up.
Yeah. So criteria-wise, a lot of what we've already talked about tonight. To me, a big thing with being a duo is that they know their place in the duo, but they also can, when needed, when called upon, they can take over a lead. They can kind of, not necessarily interchangeable because they're all going to have their own style. They work very well together, but they also work very well separate, within that duo. If they're doing a rhythm riff versus a lead, whatever. Also, I just think when I listen to bands, hey, yeah, I wanted to mention this, Derek. You didn't miss much. We started a little late, so it actually works out for you. So you just missed the Rosies. I mean, you probably just caught Kirk's Rosie, but Leonard Skinner was Steven's one. But anyway, so get into this. I think for me, they have to be able to, when I listen to the band, I know that there's 2 guitarists for a reason. They didn't just stack people in this band because they didn't want to be mean and cut somebody, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason.
This is so funny, by the way.
Yeah.
Have you seen these memes?
Yes, they're good. He's looking rough, or he did.
Anyway, by the way, I didn't say hello, but hey, Foxx, I'll share something at halftime. Don't go nowhere. I'm going to share something at halftime with you, and I'm excited to tell you. Yeah. So, Andy, keep going.
All right. So, with that said, my Rosie, also criteria, I had to really like the bands. I mean, I think that kind of goes without being said. Like, there's some great duos out there that I respect them, but I'm not just turning their music on any Tuesday, right? Like, these are bands that I'm listening to and thoroughly enjoying these. A lot of the reason for the duo of guitarists. So, with that said, my Rosie, when I was growing up, my dad was a huge influence musically for me. And in fact, most of the bands today stem from that, I'll say. And one of those first groups that I really got into, I remember being very intrigued. My dad had a collection of records, and there was this really cool record that he had. And it was the album art that really drew me in. And then I listened to the band and I was like, oh my gosh, this match is perfect. This is so good. And there was this kind of like zombie looking guy on the cover of this album. So I'm going to go with Dave Murray and Adrian Smith, Iron Maiden. When I think duo guitars, I think, and Kirk, you did it perfectly. We didn't even talk about this. In our post today, it was the Trooper, right? It's like one of the best duos of all time, best leads. And what's cool about that is that it's both of them doing that. You know what I mean? Like to your point, Steven, like the precision that goes into that. It's not an easy riff to play. And to play as much and as fast as they do in this.
Yeah. Well,
to do that is just the precision, but also, and I know we're not talking bass tonight, but when you listen to that riff, the bass is doing the same thing. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kind of like your pick, Flipper, is that there is a third guitarist that's a part of Iron Maiden, but we don't really talk about that guy. The guy doesn't even get like spotlights put on him, right?
Hey, did you see the post from your buddy?
Yeah. So and I was actually going to comment back, but I was like, let me wait for the show. So there is the guy. What's his name? Jarek.
Janis.
How do you pronounce it?
He's Jerk, right? Janet Gers, right?
Yeah.
So anyway. He was like there, and then he wasn't, and then he was back, and then there's three. Iron Maiden is kind of one of those groups for different reasons, but kind of like Skynyrd, where we've had some revolving members. You know, I think any band, a lot of bands that are going to been around as long as these bands have been, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I think 3 drummers total in this band over the span of time, and you know, kind of like the Spinal Tap joke of like, you know, who knows who the drummer is? It's a different drummer every night. This last one died. He blew up. So
well, Adrian left the group, right? And then he filled in. And
then
when Adrian came back, he didn't leave.
Yeah, they just kind of moved him back.
Yeah.
So he was out. Yeah. So revolving, but to me, I couldn't not mention Iron Maiden, and when we're talking about duos, it's some of the coolest, and not just the Trooper, right? I mean, there's a ton of songs, you know, Run to the Hills. I mean, all of those songs back in the day. I mean, anything
is huge.
The list is massive, right? Number of the Beast, all that stuff that was. If you want to listen, and again, I know we're not specifically talking just about Iron Maiden tonight, but a lot of the guitar duo makes it. Man, if you just want to feel like you are like reading a comic book while you are listening to metal, Iron Maiden feels like that, or like I'm in the middle of like Lord of the Rings or something. It's just,
and that has a little bit to do with Bruce Dickinson, right? He's great storyteller, man. and his lyrics too are not lyrics; it's a story.
That you're listening to. It's an audiobook with.
And he's like acting out a play while he's singing, man.
Oh, dude, and then, you know, the theatrics of everything with Eddie and with, you know, just all of that stuff, the stage shows. That's one band I have not seen live that I would have.
I haven't either.
It would have just to see this 20-foot Eddie zombie thing would have been amazing. So, but anyway, that's my Rosie. I didn't see. I wasn't keeping up with any kind of comments or anything.
I kind of jumped them out there for you. Farhan's here. Barry's talking about Kiss. I don't know if he wants to kiss you or he thinks you're going to name Kiss. I don't know what's going on, but he doesn't, you know. And then PCG in the house talking to Bryce. So I mentioned a minute ago, going through this list, there's bands that I just don't like. And I don't like Iron Maiden.
I get it.
Here's the thing. I listen to Iron Maiden. That's why I use them today. Because I had a feeling, I got a feeling if there's a band that I'm not going to say tonight that you or even Steve would like would be Iron Maiden. Now, and I was trying to show some love on that side. And I think I probably picked the best one in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Trooper, that whole guitar duo is fantastic. I'm not going to tell you that they're a bad band. They're not. That's just not my. It's not that my opinion is that they're a bad band. I have no influence with this. For instance, I went and listened. They were on every single list that I could find. Every one of them. Yeah. They mentioned Iron Maiden. Matter of fact, many of them had him in the top 2 or 3. And I was like, okay, let's go look into their library. And I literally knew like 2 of the songs on there.
Oh, dude, listen to 2 minutes till midnight.
Wait, hold on. I knew like 2 of the songs, but I knew like 10 of the riffs. Like I was like, oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
I've heard that before. But
I like Dennis's comment. They are an acquired taste. If you don't like them, then acquire some taste.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I just don't like that style of metal. I don't like it.
They're very much in the line of like Ronnie James Dio.
And I like them better. So
as far as taste goes, I compare them more to Rush. I mean, it's a lot of dudes that like Iron Maiden, you know, and you either like them or you don't like them. It's literally like that, you know.
Again, it's not that I don't like them. It's more so I don't. If you showed me a song, I'm like, who sings that? I just don't know who. I don't know what they sing. I don't know what they do. I just have no influences.
And you know why that is? It's because they didn't get any radio airplay at all.
Yeah.
I mean, you never heard them on the radio. That's why you don't ever think about it.
And in my family, I guess we're not the ones that were purchasing them, so I never actually heard them. Yeah. Like I do like the Trooper song, and then there's some of the like classic rocks they'll come on every once in a while. But I couldn't be like, oh, this is Iron Maiden. It's just not something I know. So
they've got so many good albums, man.
Yeah,
pretty unbelievable, really. I
mean, Fear of the Dark, 90s,
Power Slave.
Yeah. Anyway. We're gonna have to continue this list a little bit quicker now that we're nerding out about music over here. We're gonna go 3 hours. So, but
yeah. So you're up now. So Iron Maiden. So we good list so far. We got Guns N' Roses, Iron Maiden, and Steve. You started off
Skinner already too.
We got Skinner. So let's go. I just saw him like a few months ago. Awesome. And ironically, we were supposed to have Maiden on for this one, wasn't it? Or maybe next one. I don't know. The guy that backed out. But anyways, so you're up, Steve. Where are you going at number 2? Don't have to do criteria now. We can just jump right into it.
Well, my number 2 is, I don't think it's going to be a real popular choice, but I'm basing it on sheer talent, how melodic they are, the fact that they do play those, you know, a lot of their parts together, you know, and they're 2 incredible guitar players. And my second pick is Stryper.
Wow,
nice. Yes. Oh my God.
Dude, they're just, I mean, either one of them could be the lead guitar player. As a matter of fact, Michael Sweet recently played in another band and he didn't even sing. He was the lead guitar player. So, I mean, they're both incredible guitar players.
Wow.
So I got a fun story about this. Didn't really know Stryper as much as I probably should have, since I'm an 80s hair metal guy, like PCG's calling me out on Iron Maiden. But they were more on the Christian side, and I had never actually really, I don't know. And when I got saved, I was in church, and I mentioned to a couple buds, man, I really wish there was some bands that are closer to the ones I like. You know, I like some metal, new metal, those kind of things. And one of my best friends at the church, Andy Chad, who is just an amazing guy, and he passed away last year. He gives me a burn CD of Stryper's greatest hits.
Not very new metal, but
and he's like, listen, I know it's not exactly what you like, but here's a good Christian metal band for you. And I was just like, all right, man. And so I had that. I still have it somewhere. It's just a really cool story, because me and Chad after that became really close friends. And he tragically passed away from some diseases that he had. But man, I'm glad you mentioned that so we could chat about Chad tonight.
Little nugget, I got married to Stryper.
No way.
The song in my ceremony when I got married was a Stryper song.
It was To Hell with the Devil, right?
No,
I'm just kidding.
What
a song to walk
they
down
have
the
the
aisle
perfect
to.
wedding song. It's Together as One was the.
Oh, okay.
But I love them. I've seen them like 6 times. I've met them a couple of times. They're just really talented guys. I understand why some people might not like them though. I mean, it is another group that's an acquired taste. They're definitely 80s metal. They're not 90s metal. They're not, any of that. I mean,
shout out to Patrick McCaskill. He is the biggest Stryper fan that I know. That dude will talk about Stryper until he's blue in the face. He loves Stryper. I, to be honest with you, have not given them enough listen. Now, I've heard songs, right? But I've never been like,
oh yeah, I need to go back and throw them on and listen to some more now because of this, but reminding me of Chad and try and I got to listen to some Stryper, man.
Yeah.
Not the best lyricist. I'm going to go there, but I mean, if you listen to the early stuff, like the To Hell with the Devil album is a really, really good album. Michael Sweet is not the best lyricist. He really isn't.
They just actually, I think it was there it is. For King and Country, Lecrae and Stryper have done a remake of To Hell with the Devil.
Really?
Relatively recently. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was actually kind of 2024 it came out.
Wow.
So it's got the guys from Stryper in it too.
Yeah.
So
it's funny. I got a little Stryper story just real quick. We saw him at the music center downtown down in here in Houston, and we were there to see Jet Boy as well. Jet Boy was opening up for him. That's one of the hair bands y'all probably don't remember, but we were watching. We were like front row. We were second row. We were digging Jet Boy. We look around. There's not a single Stryper fan in the entire audience standing up for Jet Boy except for us. And it kind of made me and my buddy mad. We were like really disappointed in the crowd and whatever. And when Stryper came out, we were like giving it to Michael Sweet when he was on our side of the stage. And he's playing his solo and he looks down and he sees us. We're not shooting the finger at him or anything, but we're, giving it to him, yelling and whatever, and giving him the scowled look, and whatever. And he looks down at us like, what? And then he goes off and continues to play. And after the show, dude, he comes over to our side of the stage and he goes, these two guys right here. And then he stopped himself. and he just told everybody good night or whatever. But
wow.
We had a total interaction with him that night. It was pretty funny. They won us over before the night was over. Though.
PCG coming out with a hot one here. One of the best Christian albums ever. Alice Cooper's Brutal Planet album is awesome. The lyrics of the song Brutal Planet always stop me in my tracks.
So he's a born-again believer too.
Yeah, I love that video of him chatting about that. It's out there if you haven't seen it. Yeah, so, all right, I'll come in with my next one. This band also was off my list until this morning. And actually, Cannon, I'll shout out to Cannon. Cannon was one of the ones that said, Dad, you got to have that. We love that. Like, we love that. And whenever it comes on, so my son Cannon, he'll be he'll be 10 next week. And when this song comes on, or these songs come on, he knows them a lot. And so one of the big things was that they have a ton of hits. And if you're around sports, you hear them a lot. One of the most underrated rhythm guys and one of the craziest stage presences. I'm going to go with the Brothers Young, man. I'm going AC/DC, Malcolm and Angus. And, man, we were listening this morning. I was listening to Rick Beato, and he had him at number 1. And when they came on, when it got to the top, he had him at number 1. Cannon goes, Dad, are they on your list? I'm like, yeah, they're probably at about 5, 6, or 7. He's like, what? You got to have them way higher than that. Mm-hmm. And then we just started going through the list. And, man, when I brought up their greatest hits, I had to go way down the list to go, yeah, I don't like that song. And a lot of it has to do with why Rushmores are Rushmores. when I listen to some of those songs, it transports me right back to a time or a presence or a place with certain people, certain games, hearing it as a walk-up song. When I was in Iraq, this is one of the CDs that we had, and we were blaring it in the Humvee, Shoot to Kill. I mean, like, we were riding around with that joke going, and just these two guys are awesome. And listen, Malcolm is amazing in the background, and Angus is doing his thing. I just really enjoy the music. So AC/DC, it's gonna go for my number 3, my TJ Jazzy Jeff.
Yeah. Well, they can definitely shine because their drummer is nothing special. That dude, every song, he's like, "Hey, I got a good idea for a beat. I'm gonna do that the whole time." Anyway, no, I like this. This was a Benjamin for me. So this is the first Benjamin off my list. You have to pick Malik. The only, and again, it's not, so it fits for your criteria. The only thing for me is like Angus Young is what I think of. You know what I mean? And I know Malcolm Young's there too. But so Angus is the guy.
That was one of the things that kind of sold me. Everything that I saw on these guys, they were like, everybody sleeps on Malcolm. He is such one of the best, most underrated guys on the rhythm. And I don't know music, so I was like, yeah, I can agree, but I love it. So
actually, I can disagree with you on that in a positive way. Angus is Angus. Everybody loves Angus, but Malcolm is one of the most well-respected rhythm guitar players out there, man. Yeah. I mean, you ask guitar players who they love as a rhythm guitar player, and a lot of them are going to say Malcolm.
In the guitar realm, yeah, I think from a popular, standpoint, just whatever, non-musician, whatever, most.
I mean, who can do the hokey pokey like that? I mean, like, come on. I mean, that hokey pokey. Put your right foot in.
Jim Brewer is better at AC/DC than AC/DC is.
Dude, that whole skit with Jim Brewer, it cracks me up every time, and I pull it up often.
I have actual ties to AC/DC.
Okay, all right.
My uncle managed one of the biggest recording studios in London back in the 70s, and his roommate was Brian Johnson before he was in AC/DC.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
He was in a group called Gordy back then. If you see that video on social media where they're showing you his voice before he joined AC/DC,
yeah. So I was literally just going to bring that up.
Yeah. That video is cool.
Yeah, that's the band he was in when he was my uncle's roommate.
In all honesty, Brian Johnson is very iconic, and he's been the guy, whatever. I'm a Bon Scott fan. I'm a fan of the music and the songs during the Bon Scott era a little bit more than I am the Brian. Not that I don't like Brian Johnson. I think he's great. But
to me, AC/DC, for those about to rock and Back in Black, and they're just both Brian Johnson. So that's why.
Yeah.
And also you have to bring in School of Rock, right? I mean, like, they're so epic. Because we're going to talk about fake bands in a little bit, Andy.
yeah, for sure.
Anyways, Andy, you're up, man. You're up. This is, man. We've already dropped 5 good bands. Where are you going?
So this is going to be the most recent group of my whole list. Not that they're recent, but they're still kind of in that realm of bands now. This is a group, I'd say high school time for me. When I first heard this group, it was like, man, there's something special about this group. They got a lot of flack and hate from some people because, just music fans or whatever. But you cannot deny these two guitarists. I'm going with Sinister Gates and Zachy Vengeance from Avenged Sevenfold. I know that they look like an Affliction t-shirt. I understand that. But man, listen to some Avenged Sevenfold music and tell me that it's not all guitar the whole time. I get it. And I think there's some hate because a lot of their stuff is like, okay, that was just a Metallica song you redid. But They are dynamite guitarists. In fact, the Rick Beato episode that you had mentioned, I had actually watched also this week. He brought them up.
Yep, they were all about 18 or so.
Yeah, they are fantastic. Part of my criteria too is that I enjoy the band. So while preparing for all of this stuff, he says, "Hail to the King" is the best. My baseball. Yeah, there you go. Nice. Prior to this week, listening to their stuff.
Robert White, welcome to the show, by the way. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
And my baseball warm-up song, that is awesome. Welcome to the show. We're talking our top 4 guitar duos.
Yeah.
Duos, so duo.
So these two guys, Sinister Gates, Zaki Vengeance, to me, really, really great stuff. I was listening to him this past week, just kind of going through discography, flipping through stuff. They're so good. Even back in like the early 2000s stuff that they were putting out, just super, super, really heavy guitar music. And then also, again, I'm not talking drummers, but, and he passed away. The Rev was a big part of that, their original drummer. But, dude, I had to mention these two guys today. Sinister Gates, Zaki Vengeance.
Dude, heck of a pull, man. Heck of a pull. I had them. I mean, I wasn't sleeping on them, but I was hoping y'all were sleeping on them, pulling this one out. Rick Beato did remind me of them when I watched that movie. When I watched it, I was like, oh, man. Because when I go into these Rushmores, I'm always thinking of first 70s and 80s, 90s. And then this is a more recent. So you said that, and I was like, man, this band shreds, man. They rock. I love how you're like, they look like an Affliction t-shirt because they do. And I love I've never seen them live, and I always wanted to. They were on a short list of those kind of 2000 bands that I wanted to see that I never got to see.
Our friend Justin Tubes is one of the biggest Avenged Sevenfold fans. I was hoping he would catch the show. He's growing up with him, dude. He was listening to A7X all the time. So yeah. Steve, you like this group?
I agree with the pick 100%. I mean, that is definitely a pick that could have been on my list for sure, but for whatever reason they didn't make it. But they're definitely both really good guitar players.
Yeah, I think that too. There's recency effect in the sense of like, so I'm 36, so like when my high school time, like I was fully listening and I was in on that stuff. They're early Sounding the Seventh Trumpet album and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And, there was that. I had to fit in a recent band. We could easily do all classic rock guitarists and no complaints. No complaints about any of that.
Yeah.
I had them maybe going to sneak them in with a Benji, but I'm glad they're here. And it's a good perfect pick. Yeah. Hey, so a couple things, man. We're halfway. Great, man. Good 6. We haven't crushed yet. Got a lot to go. We got a second half to go, so don't go nowhere. We got 13 in the chat. Make sure everybody here has at least hit the like button. I do want to address a comment. Fat Boy, Fat Boy's gaming has been like the biggest supporter of us. He's got like phones and things running things in the background watching our show, man. And I love that, just that we have people that really care about not just the community, but actually care about us like that. It's really cool. And he's asking how many watch hours till 4K? Right at about 150. What we're averaging right now is about 50 to 100 a week, gaining. When video games was going on, it was 100 solid. Now that we're in music, we do have a drop off because of not necessarily because the show isn't great, but because a lot of our followers just love video games, and that's just it. And so when we hit video games every year, it goes, and then music, we kind of even out with music, movies, TV, sports. And then when video games comes again, if we did nothing but video games, we'd probably kill it. But it's just not our shtick. So if you guys could help us out, go hit the like button. The last time I looked, we got 20 right now. There's 13 here. If everybody's hit it, that's great. But if y'all haven't, we could jump that thing really quickly. And let's talk about some of the things we do at halftime. So you guys know, one, that we are both, actually all three of us here are Christian. And one of our favorite things about being Christian is sharing the gospel. And one of the favorite parts about sharing the gospel for Andy and I is down there in the corner, what we call Reboot. And our next opportunity to do Reboot is around the corner at St. Tammany Collectors Con. If you go to St. Tammany Collectors Con on Instagram and Facebook, they're dropping all of their guests right now. They have a lot of what I would call maybe second or third tier Star Wars people showing up. Some of the Jedis, and some of the kind of like the person who played inside R2D2, one of the Jedi, the Jedi, that the lady that's like Ahsoka that died on Geonosis. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. She's going to be there. A bunch of the other people. Yeah, thank you, Manny. Smash the like button. Manny's back, by the way. First time he's done a show in a couple months. Go watch that. It was a fantastic watch. Oh, and by the way, Mort's coming back on soon. He just dropped an awesome video on his collection. Go check that out. Tell him we sent you. But anyways, one of our favorite things to do at the cons is to preach to a bunch of Jedi, right? And we're going to be doing that in the first week of May in Mandeville, Louisiana at the Castine Center. Be sure to get down there. If you can't, we're going to be live everywhere. My goal is to get down there and kind of just see if we can't share the gospel in a relevant way, but hug as many of our friends next as possible and invite more of them to come join us on our show so we can show you guys all the amazing things out in our community. So that's the next one coming up. We have some others that are booked for the fall, and I'm excited about that. I just booked one of my favorite people in August. Bubba Stallcup is coming to join us. He is the minister of Love Thy Nerd. And Andy, him along with another guy who I was on the show last night with, a guy named Pastor Mark, Pastor Bubba and Pastor Mark, those guys are the guys that run the NCMS, which is the Nerd Collective Ministry Summit. And they run it in Colorado. And it's a mission trip that I think I want to do, Andy, in November. So you're going on a mission trip. Hopefully I'm going on one too. If I can figure that out, I'm going to chat with those guys soon. So if you guys want to support us anyway, the best way to do that is kind of prayer-wise. That is amazing. We have some cool things. I am working on my devotionals right now. Foxy, you still out there? Foxy, where you at? Foxy, say hello if you're still out there. So yeah, so I'm working on the devotions, but Foxy, you got me inspired this week. And I've been saying this for 20 years. Foxy, I wrote the first 4 chapters of my book this week. 3.5. Prologue, 3.5. I finally went and got all the notes everywhere I could possibly find and squished them together and did some work on it. And I sent Andy the first chapter night before last. So first 2 chapters. So I'm excited. Fox, I'll send it to you. See what you think. The other thing that I want to talk to y'all guys about, Kirk, you are making a devotional. Yes, sir. Mr. White, I am doing a nerd devotion. These are all some of my inspiration. Andy, hit me, blow me up, man. So these are some of my inspirations. This book here, Tony Talavera, I've reached out to him to be on the show. He does a ministry, and it's called Nerd of the Godcast or Nerd of Godcast. He does a ministry. I'm trying to have him on the show, but that's his book. This book and this book, Hector's actually on the show coming up. He's doing the Guitar Hero. He wrote these, and this is devotion number 1 and devotion 9. So I got those 2. I need to get the other 7. This is another one. I haven't reached out to her, but Ellen Elliott, she did a devotion. And the last one right here, Finding God in Video Games. They are going to be on our show in August, which is awesome. in nostalgia. And that's another devotion. These are my kind of my inspirations. And I have, I'm going to write a devotional for each one of our topics. So I'm going to do a video game one, a movies and TV one, in a music one. Those three are going to be kind of like this, a daily devotion. I've already started kind of putting those together. I've been doing that, by the way, so it's not like just something I did overnight. Been working on it probably since like maybe Christmas. And then I'm going to do a cookbook for the one for food. And we've had so many amazing Rushmore of food recipes come out. I would like to put our Rushmore recipes in that book, and I'm going to kind of teach. My goal is to teach on all the food in the Bible. So that's kind of where I'm going to go with that one. And then the sports one is going to be a weekly devotion for young athletes to do on the weekends while they're playing sports. That's the one I'm putting together. And my daughter has a lot of inspiration in that. My daughter and my son. And the last one, of course, is nostalgia. And nostalgia, I decided, well, we got all these devotions in a recipe book and all that. I'm going to do a journal. And so more of a journaling type book, devotional, is going to be the nostalgia one. So I'm working on those. So there you go. I didn't mean to take up all that time, but you asked. So there you go. And Andy, so let's hurry up and tell them about over your left shoulder there is our buddy's Culture Box. Oh, by the way, guys, we got a new member of Culture Box. He's going to be on the show in nostalgia, and that'll be the first time we start kind of promoting his show. So be on the lookout for that as well. So, Andy, who are we going to shout out for Culture Box? And we got to tell them about our favorite coffee.
Yeah. So next week, we're going to have a guest, and let's give them a shout out tonight. Our friends over at the Cellcast. Let's check it out. The Cellcast hosts Jacob and Drew review animated movies and TV shows, discussing what they appreciate about the medium in whatever form it takes, whether it's a traditional hand-drawn animated movie, claymation shorts, or a 3D CGI series. Check out some animated reviews when you subscribe to The Cellcast at thecellcast.podbean.com. And don't forget, Cell is spelled with a C and a single L at thecellcast.podbean.com. There you go, man.
Hey, look, I'm going to be honest. The reason that I'm doing this is, and I just realized who Robert White was now, because he doesn't go by Robert, it's Austin. So Austin's stepson plays for us, and his obviously blood son is Jeffrey, and Jacob plays on our team. We actually played them this week, and they beat us. And so we're tied for like second. Well, they're ahead of us now because they beat us. But one of the things I wanted to share with you, Austin, one of the reasons I want to do the devotions is not to make any money. When we go to these conventions, I want to have books like this of our friends, as well as our books, to when someone comes to Christ and knows who Jesus is and meets us at these conventions wearing a furry suit. I could say, here, this is probably something that you can probably read, that you'll enjoy, because it talks about Legend of Zelda or whatever, but it's got the gospel in it. Here, this is free for you. And what I would like to do is some of the monies and things that we're going to earn, because we're almost monetized completely. Some of the monies that we would earn, we would buy these books, we would buy shirts, things like that, basically to give away just to help see people saved. Now, obviously, we're going to make a couple pennies, but both Andy and I have real jobs. And I don't think that we're going to be Mr. Beast, but we sure would like to be able to just give back to the community, and nothing about us. I've actually, if I'm being honest though, Austin, the sports one was the first one I did, and I did it for my daughter because, hey, Steve, you would enjoy this. Softball plays travel tournaments every weekend, and a lot of them, the really good ones, go into Sunday. And my daughter, if you're playing a good team, you're playing Sunday. That means you are in the winner's bracket. And my daughter played on such a good team, she became the chaplain of her team. And every week she would get them together that Sunday morning and talk about a devotional. And I said, you know, it'd be really cool if we put this in paper so that other teams could do this. So I did this almost a year ago, and I'm just kind of rearranging the script for us because that one is just built for softball. I'm redoing it for all sports and just talking things about like anxiety in sports and the competition and all the things for that for young kids, so that when they're out there on a Sunday and they have to miss church, they can be the church out there and talk that. That's my goal. And so for all my praying friends out there, pray for us. I hate to cut you off, Andy, but I realized when he wrote Jeffrey and Jacob would love it. And I'll make sure if I get that printed, you guys having a copy. And I'll make sure Jacob has one at both houses for sure. Yeah, that's just how it is, man. God's been great to us, and the best way to do it is to be great back to others. So I cut off the thunder of Culture Box, Andy, but Culture Box is such a great place where we got some amazing leaders, guys. Go check all of them out. We're going to have one on next week, Cellcast. Andy, share about the coffee, and then we'll finish.
Well, we have an official coffee for those that are coffee drinkers of the Rushmore show called Village Coffee. Let me show you their commercial real quick.
Let's face it, at-home coffee can be pretty stale. Coffee at home doesn't have to be boring. The Village Coffee is here to deliver the flavor. The Village Coffee roasts coffee every week and sells online. Go to villagebeans.com to order your coffee today and use discount code Rushmore for free shipping.
There you go. Village Coffee, official coffee, good friend of the show, good friend of me, just personally here at the church. Also, just to let you know, it's got cold brew coming out soon. So they're growing. Their product is in a local store over here. They're also on Sunday mornings at church, Kirk. So if you're ever here on a Sunday, it is now the coffee that we give for free in our lobby.
Why am I not surprised? That's perfect.
It's so good. So I'm so glad that it's not just community coffee anymore, which I'm not opposed to, but this is much better. But yeah, go check it out. You know, you can order it, use that promo code Rushmore so you can get free shipping. Great stuff.
Yeah, let me shut this door. Let's get started. So, Steve, you're up, man. Second half of the mountain. We're talking about guitar duos, guitar bands that have great two lead on the strings, man. Got two guys that can just shred it up. Who's your next guy on this mountain? Look, we're getting to the top, so I'm imagining there's some that are about to come out.
Well, the other side of the mountain is definitely not a downhill slope. Let's put it that way. This next group on my list, the lead singer graced my walls when I was probably 12, 13, 14 years old, like a lot. And oddly enough, we've already talked about him, so here you go.
Oh.
Dave Murray and Adrian Smith, Iron Maiden.
Yeah. Nice.
I had a feeling he was awfully quiet when we kind of rolled into that. I'm like, So I did a good job picking Trooper today. Yeah. I was like, man, I know they're going to be on the list. I wish I had some influence on it, but I just don't.
Anything else you want to add about them? I know we talked about it a little bit, but
I think for me personally, it's more of if you ask 10 different people, 9 of them are going to put them on the list if you ask me. But
yeah. By the way, hold on a second.
Got to make it official. So there you go. There's the stamp.
I mean, I knew that was going to be a Rushmore for sure. Somebody was going to duplicate it for sure.
I knew it wasn't going to be Kirk. I'm glad that it was mentioned today.
I wish I did love them. You know, you talk about the greatest metal bands of all time, and I want to love a lot of those bands. Like when not just what do they call the Trinity, or what was the top four of what do they call those guys?
The four horsemen.
Yeah, the four, whatever it is.
The big four. The big four.
Even big like four. Not just those, but like even like the next 6 to 10. I like songs in and out of there, but I don't necessarily always like the whole band. And mainly because my metal introduction, and you nailed it on the head, was the radio. And these are bands that weren't really playing on the radio. And I mentioned it about my dad earlier. My dad, he handled the radio when I was a kid. And if we were listening to like the Four Tops and the Temptations, and I remember we're going on a sea cruise. You know what I mean? And we're not listening to this, and it was all doo-wop and Elvis, and you were definitely not putting that on there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that influence either. And then, so I never really got into that, and I wasn't a Headbangers Ball type guy either. So because I didn't hear any of that, and I wasn't around that. But I can appreciate all of it. There's not one that I'm like, man, they suck. Yeah. I'm just like, I get it, but I don't. I just, for me, it's not in that genre.
Well, what's crazy about Iron Maiden is when you're having a discussion about any of those parts of the band and the greatest people at that instrument or at the vocals or at this, that, or the other, you have to mention these guys. I mean, every single one of them, Yeah. I mean, Bruce Dickinson probably is the best metal singer of all time.
Yeah. From a chop standpoint, yeah, the dude's got it more than.
I know we're not talking vocals. I'm just
Also, have you seen the thing like Bruce Dickinson is like a legitimate pilot? And
he is multiple things. He is an Olympic class fencer.
Yeah.
He is a commercial pilot. He flies if you've seen the tour, what is it, Tour 666 or whatever?
Yeah.
He flies the whole band around the world in like a 767 or whatever it is. Yeah, he's legit, man.
Yeah, he's a savant for sure. He knows what he's doing. All right, well, this is good. Obviously, I agree with your pick. So this is good. This is great. I like where we're going. So Kirk, you're up next. Your Link would be Link is a good spot because that kind of like Zelda. They're kind of like a Zelda type metal. You know what I mean?
Did Linkin Park have to?
What's that?
I just said, did Linkin Park had to? Because that would have been a great hit. But I didn't
think they did. Mike Shinoda played guitar too. I would never put them in the duos.
Well, Steve, you don't like. We always make the joke about Link trying to make the missing link somehow hit Zelda in there. And so it just hit me. But no, I'm going to go with probably, if I was going to pick the greatest of all time, and not just the Rushmore, I'm going to go with this band here. Yeah, and Andy, we've had plenty of discussions about this band, and you like a different era of them than I do. I'm going with none other than James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett. I'm going with Metallica, man. And that's the one metal band that I really dug for most of the 90s. And the reason is because I listened to the Black Album, right? Like, which came out, late 80s or early 90s, 91, whatever it was. And that was my high school time. But they weren't like Iron Maiden to me. They weren't like, the Slayers and Anthraxes and all of that stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is palpable. And then now in my later years, I went back into the 80s and loved, Ride the Lightning and all that stuff. And then so there's a band on here that could be named later, that they redid Whiskey in the Jar. And me and Cannon listened to Whiskey in the Jar on the way to school today, and Cannon was singing it. It was one of the funniest things, listening to Whiskey in the Jarro. And Metallica, they had to be on this somewhere or the other, and it's one of my favorite bands of all time. And to me, probably the best.
They were in my running for sure.
Cool runnings.
Yeah.
Cool runnings.
Nice. I mean,
no doubting Kirk Hammett. I mean, come on. I mean,
this is a fantastic pick. I mean, it was on the thumbnail that you made.
Yeah, so that was the thumbnail along with Trooper. I did those two.
We knocked them both out there. There you go.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, great band. And many people, if you're a Metallica fan out there, guys, yeah, good night. What version of Metallica do you like? What version of Metallica do you like? Many of the purists of the metal side will go in the beginning.
No, and here's what I'll do. I like every iteration of Metallica minus Saint Anger.
Saint Anger.
Minus Saint Anger. I will listen to anything by Metallica. Saint Anger's garbage.
I love. I mean, I'll start by saying I love Robert Trujillo. I love him.
Oh yeah.
But I don't like any of the music, Saint Anger and back. I mean, forward that is. Anything, Black Album and back, I love. But after that, and it's not his fault. He just came into the band after all that, I mean.
So Austin says Master of Puppets.
Okay, well, yeah. So Dennis, I didn't even count this one technically as a Metallica because that's with what's his name in it. But don't ever listen to it. Don't ever listen to
it. I think Master of the Puppets is definitely their best album.
Yeah,
Master of Puppets is a great album.
Yeah, Ride the Lightning's a pretty close second, though. I'm not gonna lie.
And Justice for All is all I will say. It's an unskippable album in my opinion.
Pretty good. I mean, one is a masterpiece, right?
I mean, dude. I mean, so many great songs. Eye of the Beholder is one of the coolest, simplest riffs of all time, but it just works so good.
And see, Foxx mentioned it. I like Metallica before Megadeth, and then I switched sides. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Justice, dude. I mean, Justice is the GOAT. It's the GOAT.
All right, so Andy, you're up.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, this is great timing that our friend Foxx just said this because I'm going to go with "You Take a Mortal Man." I'm going to go with Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman from Megadeth. That's my next pick, dude. If there is a band that is on my list that goes perfectly in my criteria of they can switch off at lead, solo / rhythm, this is it. Because all I need to tell you is 2 words, and one of them's a number. Listen to the song Hangar 18.
Yeah.
Dude, there's 19 solos in that song, and they flip off who's doing one and who's doing the other. They're so ridiculously good. Megadeth has been the band that I have been bumping like tremendously lately because I've honestly not slept on. I mean, I love Megadeth, but as of recently, I haven't listened to them as much. But going back and listening to Symphony of Destruction the other day,
dude, that song is awesome.
But here's the thing. Guitar duos, to me, and we've kind of touched on this. It's not just shredding. It's not just solos. The riff is a really important thing, and I've talked to you about this, Kirk. That and you've kind of struggled with the distinction between the two, but I would love to do a Rushmore of riffs because there are certain things. I mean, Symphony of Destruction.
I understand the riff. My George. One of the reasons is they've got some of the best riffs. I understand it. We were talking about solos and riffs, and my question wasn't that I don't understand the difference. What I was saying is, when does a riff become a solo? Right. Was kind of the idea. Like sometimes the riff is just not long enough or whatever. Sometimes it's in between something, but a lot of times the riff becomes a big piece.
Well, you got the riff, you got the lead, then you got a solo. You got different elements, but just specifically to Megadeth, dude. Dave Mustaine is a madman. Obviously we know the story about he was originally in Metallica. There's a lot of fantastic early Metallica riffs that Mustaine wrote. Iconic Metallica songs
that were stolen from him.
Yeah, essentially, and which is crazy. He was kicked out because they thought he drank too much.
Yeah.
Metallica thought Mustaine. I mean, Mustaine was bad. And Mustaine, listen, over his years, substance abuse, all kinds of craziness. I'm not saying this is a model citizen that we're looking up to, but if we're talking about guitar duos, Mustaine and Friedman could not be skipped. And Marty Friedman, dude. I mean, one of the greatest soloists, one of the greatest. Again, I just think the way that those two work together as far as a duo goes, might be better than anybody I've ever heard.
What was that group he was in with Jason Becker?
I'm Googling it because I'm gonna blank on it because they were in.
So
that
while
would have
you're
been a great
Googling it,
duo. I didn't even think about that duo group, man.
so while you're Googling it,
Cacophony.
you know,
Cacophony.
Yeah, there you go.
I was like, you know, I hear this all the time, and I just wanted to look it up and see, like, kind of when or whatever. When you hear about Megadeth, how he was originally just saw Indy's Spinal Tap. Yeah. He loves Spinal Tap.
This one goes to it.
How good do you have to be in a band that you get your opportunity to go be a mega star, and then you get kicked out and you go make another band to be a mega star?
It's almost as big, yeah.
And I was like, and in my head, I was like, let me put the timeline together, because it would be different if he was kicked out like at the Black album. He was kicked out before it even kicked off.
Yeah. The very first
Kill
album.
Kill them all. Yeah.
Right. So
you were on Kill 'Em All. I mean,
but then he still put it together and still went. No, so he didn't have like all the super connections yet, right? And it would be one thing. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just go start a new one. Come on, give me the money because I've already made it. No, that's just how good he was. Megadeth to me is, I appreciate them. They're way ahead to me than Iron Maiden. But it's a band that I slept on for a long time. I remember the first time that I remember listening to Megadeth was Goldberg, to be honest. And I was like, who the heck is this new song? Because they wrote the song when Goldberg was in Universal Soldier, and he had that as his walkout song for a little bit, right? And I was like, who is this? And they were like, it's Megadeth. And I was like, Megadeth? Really? And I started to kind of listen to them back then. I love the Symphony of Destruction song. I love a lot of what they do. These guys are bangers. And again, I slept on them. They were on my Benjamins today, but like way down. I think I have them at like
Crush It. There it is. I was about to say it.
17.
Yeah, Dennis got it.
Crush It.
Also, it's probably one of the places that you heard them early on and maybe didn't realize it was MTV News. Peace Sells was the bass riff. That was right there. That's a great song too.
Well, you know, Dave Mustaine is considered the godfather of thrash metal.
Yeah,
because he helped start Metallica, then he started Megadeth, and he was known to have helped Kerry King with his guitar playing in Slayer.
Yeah,
and so therefore he kind of did it all, man. I mean,
those are three of the four, the big four. Those are three of the big four right there.
Yeah.
The fact that Mustaine was a direct part of half of the big four of thrash metal,
and helped one of the other ones.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Anthrax is the other band that's there, and they're cool. It probably had nothing. Mustaine probably had something to do with that too. So.
Influence, probably. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
They probably were the youngest group of the four. So
and they were East Coast though, right? They were not. They were like New York guys. So it was different because the other guys are all Cali.
So Megadeth is a cool pick.
Also, just last thing I'll say about Megadeth, one of the best quotes of Wayne's World 2 is when Garth Algar is dancing with the lady. And she says, "I'm going to put on some music." She's trying to like flirt with him and everything. And he just, in the best Garth voice, is, "You got any Megadeth?" Totally doesn't understand the situation. I thought about putting that as my tagline, but I didn't know how many people would actually get that one. But anyway,
that would have been a deep one.
That's a deep cut. It's a deep cut. It's Wayne's World 2, so
a WCW deep cut. Have you ever seen that video?
Yeah.
That guy who does those. Yeah. It'd be a Megadeth deep cut. Yeah. All right. So we're at the George. We're at number 1. We're here. Steve, who's the best duo of all time?
Well, this group falls into that category of having multiple lineups, unfortunately, but I had to pick one of the lineups, and I picked Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, I was trying to be quiet while you were talking, but I mean, you're talking about two of the best guitar players in the genre for sure. I mean, golly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I was just saying, Marty Friedman in that other band with Jason Becker. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Two complete phenoms in one group. I mean, we probably should have put them on this list.
I think if you took an objective look at the topic tonight and you said that the two best guitarists paired together that works well, there is no doubt this is the best.
Yeah.
I think where it changes, right, is that Rushmore is a subjective thing. But if you're looking at stats, if you're looking at
I can tell you this, Iron Maiden, when I was looking, Iron Maiden was on way more lists than Megadeth. That probably depends on who wrote it, I guess, a lot about who wrote it. But Megadeth was kind of always an honorable mention to a lot of the lists that I went and saw.
Here's the thing about it. And I don't want to belabor Megadeth because we've been talking about them for about 15 minutes now. But in my opinion, and Steve, let me know if this is kind of what you think too. When we look at the big four, or we just look at metal, right, in general, the commercial success is going to go to Metallica, and a lot of fans, and Metallica's great. But if you're going to ask like metalheads, a lot of times that's the people that you're going to get a lot of the love from Megadeth.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically musicians, you know what I mean? Like it seems like that. Every band that I've been a part of, the guitarist was a huge Dave Mustaine fan.
Right.
Marty Friedman fan.
Well, and I was going to say that if you talk to most guitar players, and you gave them a choice between Dave Mustaine or Kirk Hammett, they're going to say Dave Mustaine. A lot of them. I'm not going to say all of them. Obviously, all of them aren't going to, but a lot of them are going to say Dave Mustaine.
Yeah. I understand that there's people don't like the personality of Dave Mustaine, probably. I think that plays a lot into, if you know it, right, or whatever. Yeah. There's that. He may be whatever, but you can't deny it when it comes to music.
Yeah.
The dude's got it. Yeah, this is great.
Pretty phenomenal, man.
So you have half my list.
Joe Figs, welcome back to the show. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. Everybody go and follow Action Joe Figs.
We got to talk about
Indigo Girls.
Is that Melissa Etheridge, Indigo Girls?
Do you want to hear the point of view of an almost 60-year-old?
Yes, we do.
Sure. Drop it.
Absolutely. Give us
what do you mean? I'm almost 60.
Wait, I was about to say. I think I didn't want to tarnish anything Steve didn't want to say, but I was like, I'm pretty sure Steve is a little older than me, and I'm an almost 50-year-old. So,
nugget, I'm going to be 55 in about 3 hours.
Oh, well, happy birthday! Happy
Wish I knew it on guitar. I'd play it right now.
Hey, I mean, I get that senior discount starting tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You go to Diddy's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sunrise.
Well, I guess it's my turn. And I'll jump in. And
hey, Action Joe, just real quick, just to let you know, that's a dynamite pick that you just put in the chat.
All right. So wait. Yeah, so here we go.
And I know Kirk's not about to mention that one. So anyway, Kirk, go ahead.
I mean, if somebody does mention that one, I have a lot to say.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Anyways, I came earlier, but I'm back now. He's back from outer space. Yeah, I'll be 60 in August. Well, I'll be 47 in August, Action Joe. So my turn. Andy, drum roll, please. You know who I'm going. Seriously, you know who I'm going with. I'm going with my favorite 80s band of all time. And listen, it was the easiest pick that I had. I was like, yeah, I'm going to put them. I just didn't know if I was going to make them the George or not. I had Metallica being the George for a little bit. But I just couldn't get away from – I just really couldn't get away from the idea that this is my favorite – like I listen to this band way more than anything else as far as when I'm talking about 80s. I'm going with the riff master, man, Steve Clark, and the guy Phil Collins, not Collins. I'm going with Def Leppard. And listen, I love the Vault. I'll listen to that greatest hit, the Vault album, nonstop. This is the type of music that I listened to as a kid because with my, I said Guns N' Roses earlier, and I didn't want to throw the other one in there. My sister, this same sister, was wall to wall Joe Elliott, wall to wall. She was in love with that dude, and she played Def Leppard a lot, and I have seen them more than any band. And I'm not going to say they're my favorite band. They're my favorite 80s band, and they're definitely my favorite band that has two guitarists, and I love both of these guitarists. And a lot of things we were talking about, not only do they just make the band, Steve Clark is one of the best riff writers ever. Like some of the stuff that has happened in those old 80s ballads there's all 80s ballads, period, but in Def Leppard was just awesome. And I had to go here. So I knew they were on the mountain, didn't know how high I was going to put them. But when I was sitting there and I said, in order to be true to myself, I've got to make them the George. So I'm going Def Leppard.
Yeah, I knew this is. I already had it written in. I just was seeing which one you were putting on there. I knew it was Phil Collins. Also, Phil Collins. Side note: how old is that man? And he never has worn a shirt. But to be honest, if I had his body, I would never wear a shirt either.
It's got to be in his 50s.
Is he 50s? I was going to say 60s, but
yeah, okay. I dude, it's just one of those things when you talk about where you were growing up, and we talk about Rushmore being so
67.
Oh wow,
67. But you talk about Rushmore's being so from where you're from and what you do. I mean, this is every time I hear, a Def Leppard song, not even like the Pour Some Sugar, like that's the kind of stuff we heard at the bar, but other stuff, it brings me right back to me as like a 9-year-old, 8-year-old kid, like what my son is now, and listening to my older sisters and their friends all hanging out and me being like, man, I can't wait till I'm in high school like these kids, right? And I've seen them so many times. One-arm drummer. That's one of the things I was going to say. One of the reasons I asked you guys was because one of the things that's so awesome about Def Leppard is they're one-arm drummer. But here's the deal. I was like, I'm not going to add that, but it is really cool that ended up happening to the band, and they never stopped. They never stopped making music. They still are making music, which is crazy.
If Dennis is still in here, I always tell the story of a concert we were going to play. And I tore I dislocated my shoulder the night before, and Dennis's dad ragged me the whole time and said, this is the voice I do for all people, all old guys at concerts. So this is not anywhere near what Dennis's dad sounds like. But I said, but what he told me was, what I heard in my head was, hey, Def Leppard's drummer can do it. Why can't you? He literally told me that. So I don't know if Dennis is in the chat still. One of my favorite stories of all time is that
he played a custom drum set though.
Well, yeah, he was also a touring musician who had the access to that kind of stuff. I tore mine taking out trash the night before, and
the one
speaking of touring musicians, y'all went on a tour for a while in a bus.
Well, technically you can call it a tour. It was.
Andy always tells the story of how but that's one of his worst mistakes ever.
That's was getting exactly the voice, Dennis. Sorry.
Sounds like Carl from Aqua Teen. Yeah. Yeah.
What's freaking going on, man?
The one interesting thing about Def Leppard is on this list so far, they're the one group that mixed like two totally different guitar players.
Yeah.
Steve Clark and Phil are two totally different guys, what makes it interesting, though, really, oddly enough, is Vivian Campbell's probably a better player than Steve Clark.
So listen, Vivian Campbell is amazing, and I've seen them with Vivian Campbell, a part of the piece. 12, 14 years. I don't remember the last time I probably saw him. And amazing. amazing. So yeah. But when you talk about nostalgia and where I want to be, those are the two that I remember the most. And so, yeah, I can also throw in Felder and Walsh. Yeah,
they were on my Benjamins, but
well, you still got Benjamins, and we're about to hit those, so don't give them away yet, because Andy's going to give his George, and then we're going to jump in and finish this thing off.
Yeah, well, here's my George. There was no doubt the best, and it's surprising maybe that the one Dennis texted me about didn't make my list, but it doesn't fall into my criteria as far as they can both switch off and just be fantastic. The best 1, 2, maybe not, I believe the best is probably Mustaine and Marty, like I said before, but my favorite, oh yeah, come on, give me James Hetfield and Kirk Hammett. I mean, there's no doubt. Let me tell you this. Kirk Hammett is not known as the greatest soloist of all time, but they work perfectly in the music that they put out. But I will tell you this, the single greatest rhythm guitarist, riff writer guy is James Hetfield. The fact that he can be the vocalist of this band and those riffs, when you're listening to the song, maybe you don't think about it as much, but when you're thinking about it from playing it, they're not easy. They're weird timing, a lot of this stuff. I mean, listen to Blackened and try to play that and sing at the same time. I don't understand how he can physically do it. And not only that, when you watch the style of how James Hetfield plays, he's almost all downstrokes on the guitar. That may not sound like much right now. That may not sound like much, but the speed that they play at to play all downstrokes and the intricacy of those riffs is wild.
Yeah. So, I always mess around with AI when I do these things, and I put my list into the chat GPT to be like, hey, give me all the information I can get for all of them. And for whatever reason, chat GPT gave all of them nicknames. And I didn't tell it to do this, but on Metallica, it's the down picking king and the wah wah wizard.
Yeah, and the wah. Yeah, no, absolutely. But here's the thing: to this, they both have a signature style. You know what I mean? Like they're both. That's James Hetfield. That's Kirk Hammett with the wah pedal. That's coming in, and it's just fantastic. It works the best together that I've heard. I jokingly said, we should do a Rushmore riffs. I would have a hard time not making it just a Metallica riff show.
We could also do a Rushmore of Metallica.
I'd be down for that. I love it. So these are the number one. When I said Guitar Heroes, there was no doubt in my head.
Section Joe, shout it a little louder for the people that are lurking.
Yeah, for me, when I thought about this show, thought about this topic, immediately it was James and Kirk. Bonus points for the fact that the guitarist is also the singer. You know what I mean? You throw that bonus in there. It's the best sound for me. It's the best songwriting that involves the two guitars. But not only that, listen, a lot of that like classical style guitar stuff is actually James playing that stuff. You know what I mean? He is a underrated technical guitarist, in my opinion. I believe he is in that sense. You look at Unforgiven or some of those other ones where they're using the acoustics and all that kind of stuff in there too. This dude is crazy good. So
he's a very well respected rhythm guitar player for sure.
Right. In the rhythm guitar realm, he's up there for sure.
Yeah. Possibly the best.
Yeah, I would argue, he'd be up there for sure. So
a lot of the things that we're talking about, all the stuff that I watched this week and trying to remind and jog the memory, everybody mentioned the same thing there. They talked when it came up to rhythm, which is not something that I completely am gonna, this guy's a rhythm guitar, whatever. Like I'm not that technical, but everybody said Hetfield and Young. Hetfield and Young, the two best ever. That's almost what everybody was saying. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I like that. Yeah. So anyways, the greatest guitarist I ever saw live besides Eddie Van Halen, and Stevie Ray Vaughan talk about wow.
This one right here.
Oh, yeah, but have you heard of Lil Wayne and Taylor Swift do a duo together? Now that's legendary. Throw the little Machine Gun Kelly. Dang.
Hey, I will throw in Nick Jonas's guitar solo. Was it Nick Jonas?
Oh,
One of the
God.
Jonas brothers had a guitar solo at one of the Grammys or something a couple years back. It is
That's terrible.
bad.
Pickin' Preacher. Pickin' Preacher. Hey, Pickin' Preacher. There it is, baby. It's real. It's real.
Oh, he knows the one I'm talking about. He said,
yeah, it was horrible, Andy. So, hey, 15 in here. Say, do a little do a little dance. We just finished the first part. Yeah, every single time. Every time. Dude, I mean, 2 days, that might be a record. He lost that one in 2 days. That's crazy. And I was assuming there's going to be a new one, so he might show up here. Hello, my friend. Hello. So, look, we're at the end of the show. He probably won't make it this far. But we are talking about our greatest duos of all time. So let's drop one right before we leave, our honorable mentions. We have another little duo of all time to help promote that. A little P. Diddy. Smalls and P. I don't know. Anyways, that was a bad joke. Anyways, so we're going to talk about your honorable mentions. Here's what it is. If this is the first time you've been here, we'll share with you what we do. We maybe that's who it was, Bryce. Yeah. So honorable mentions go like this. It's kind of a little contest. It's kind of like a fantasy football draft. We all know about fantasy football drafts because we did it this year, and can't wait till next year. If you guys want to be a part of the fantasy football draft, let us know. We lose people every year and whatever, and we'll welcome you in. But so Steve, you're up first. I'm second. Andy's third. But since you have first pick, you also get last pick. So Andy will go again and come back. You'll go again and go back, and then Andy will go again and come back. You'll get you'll not only get the number one pick in the draft, but you're also going to get the Mr. Irrelevant this year. So that's how that's going to work.
That's not good.
Yeah, so you get Mr. Irrelevant.
All right.
But here's the one rule: we cannot mention anybody we've already mentioned, and once somebody takes them, they're gone. So it's a little gamesmanship. If you think somebody, so you guys are both talking all this thrash metal and stuff. There might be some out there that you think each other's going to get. Steve, you said that your next four, we probably neither one of us have them. I might go off the beaten path a little bit in this one, just because there are some bands out there that I want to mention. So you're up first.
I'm gonna be shocked if y'all picked any of the next four for me.
Okay.
So you ready?
Yeah.
My first one, and this group almost made it onto the list, is Tesla.
Oh.
Not bad.
Frank
Not bad.
Cannon.
Tesla's a good
I
pick.
can't ever pronounce Tommy's last name. I don't. But I mean, come on, dude. Those two guys are phenomenal.
Skiotch, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you got Frank Hannon and Tommy.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Incredible players.
That's a great pick. Speaking of Tesla, fun story. We went to Mardi Gras this year, and all the Tesla trucks are like pulling stuff, and because of Elon Musk and you know, all one side of the political realm loved him about a year ago, and now they hate him.
Yeah.
And all the Tesla trucks were driving down, and everybody was like throwing stuff at him and like boo, because not because the trucks are ugly or anything like that, just because they hate him to death, and they were like ruining somebody else's place. But Tesla, fun stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna
say long head freaky people need not lie.
Dude. Yes.
Love that song.
All right. All right, so Andy, I'm going to go off the beaten path. There's some here that I think you might want to jump in and grab. I'm kind of glad that you're behind me today, but I know that you're getting 2 picks next, so I'm nervous. I'm going to take the highest one on the list that I think you might take, and I'm going with Alice in Chains. So Alice in Chains, Jerry Cantrell, and Mike Inez. That's my first pick. Love this band. Dude, they're just great. So I'm going to Alice in Chains.
I like that. I always think of the guy at our church that figured out that I like rock
that's
music.
why I wanted to say him. Thank you.
He would always come up to me and he'd say, "Hey man, you ever heard of Alice in Chains?" And that's how he would say it to me.
Hey man, you ever heard of Alice in Chains?
Yeah. So Jerry Cantrell and what's the other guy's name?
Mike Inez.
Is he? Okay,
Is that the new lead singer?
Is he the new lead singer?
Mike, bassist.
Yeah, because he didn't
Mike's a bassist.
have a rhythm guitar player back in the day.
I was gonna say.
Oh, is he?
Well, the lead singer now, though, he plays guitar. I just don't know if that's him.
Well, I thought that was him. Oh, so I mean, if he doesn't count, that's fine. That's fine. I can grab another one.
Who is the bass player? I forget his name.
Mike Inez is the bass player.
Oh, okay.
Apparently Mike is that, and so we said that's a DQ. So,
but they do have They do have another guitar player now. The lead singer plays guitar.
Yeah, what's his name? I thought that was him.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is though.
I'll stick with it and I'll give you his other name.
Yeah.
William Duvall.
There you go.
You sticking with him?
Yeah, I'll stick with it.
Okay.
So I don't bend the rules.
Yeah.
Because I sure don't want to take another one that might you take. So there you go.
That's what I was worried about. I was like, dude, you're gonna give him a free pick here? So yeah. I have such a lengthy list here. I don't know what I want to go with. I'm going to go, because I get back-to-backs here. It was mentioned earlier. It's got to be talked about here. Glenn Tipton and KK Downing from Judas Priest. I mean, this is just fantastic. They're so good. I know you, Kirk. I know you're shaking your head, but I absolutely love Judas Priest.
Okay, so can I share something?
Share it.
Every single time I hear them, I think their songs Kiss. And that's why you like them. Like half the time I was like, oh, I didn't know Judas Priest.
Anything like Kiss.
To me, I could not pick out a single song from these guys without looking it up.
Put on Painkiller and tell me that's Kiss. There's no way. Peter Criss was not.
Painkiller, I don't even like that song.
That's a fantastic song.
Judas Priest is okay. They're great. They're great, but when you talk about overrated, that's an overrated for me. I don't get it.
Okay. Dude.
They are overrated. It's just I don't.
Electric Eye is
really big hits.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going. Yeah, I got to go KK Downing and Glenn Tipton. And for my next pick, man, we've been rocking out the big four. I'm going to go Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman from Slayer, dude. I mean, Kerry King has probably got one of the most iconic sounds, and from solo point of view. Also, if you've ever listened to "Fight for Your Right to Party" by Beastie Boys, that's Kerry King playing guitar on that one from Slayer. Yeah. So, Kerry King, Jeff Hanneman passed away. I want to within the last 10 years probably or so. He's a fantastic rhythm guitarist there too. So, I got to go with those two guys.
All right. Well, I am going to go with. I'm going to go with probably my oldest left that I want. I'm going with Tom Petty and Mike Campbell for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Let's see. Tell me that one again. I'm gonna write them down.
Tom Petty and Mike Campbell.
Tom Petty and Mike Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
He's of the Campbell soup lineage, right?
Maybe.
Oh, that's good. All right, so we are now to you, Steve. You got back-to-back picks here, though.
All right.
Yeah. So, what you got?
So my next pick is Alter Bridge.
Nice.
Mark
They're on my list.
Opportunity.
And Miles Kennedy. There's another one too that is he's singing and playing too.
Yes.
So that's good.
My next pick is what would have been. He was already taken. They were taken from me. So the next one on the list is, and this is another group that had multi versions. So I had to pick one of the versions. Is Whitesnake.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whitesnake's fun.
Yeah.
Who's the guitarist?
I didn't realize that there was a variation that had Reb Beach in it from Winger.
Nice. So you going Doug Aldrich and Reb Beach?
Doug Aldrich and Reb Beach. If you know anything about Reb Beach, man, he is phenomenal.
I got to look more into that one.
Dude,
I've listened. Obviously, I know Whitesnake, but not listened to enough of them to.
But I mean, they've got more than one iteration that you could have put on there. I mean,
yeah. I love the Alter Bridge pick. I forgot Whitesnake. I mean, I couldn't have picked out the whole band. I do like Whitesnake quite a bit. I wouldn't have realized that they had two guitarists.
Yeah. Vivian Campbell was in Whitesnake for a little while.
Right. And that's where the connection came from, right? So, hey, so I'm going to go with another band, grunge. I'm going with Mike McCready and Stone Gossard. I'm going with Pearl Jam.
Nice.
Taking it from me.
Yeah, I'm going with Pearl Jam.
Good pick, man.
Yeah, I
Mike
love
McCready is something else.
Yeah, they're both great. I love that band. So
Stone. Okay, I'm
Stone
writing all
Gossard,
this down.
Mike McCready.
So just so you guys know, please remember this. We are doing a poll tomorrow, and the reason I'm taking a second to write all these down is because
Later, Austin. And Dennis says Blackbird is a top tier song from Alter Bridge. I guess is that Alter Bridge?
It is really good. Yeah. He also said he would have picked them if Carey wasn't so bad at solos. It's not that he's bad at solos. He doesn't have the best solos. He has an iconic sound with solos. I'll say that. But probably not the greatest soloist of all time. So I get two now. Gosh, what am I going to do here? Let me just do let's just address the elephant in the room. I don't think they're the most talented of all time. The great sound, obviously an influence for me. I'm going to go Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley from Kiss.
I was waiting for that.
What's that?
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I couldn't go today in good conscience and not mention those two. I do like Ace Frehley's style. I will say I think Bruce Kulick was probably the best guitarist they had. But from a duo, it doesn't get more iconic to me than Paul and Ace. Obviously, the Spaceman and Star Child together. I'm going to go with those two. And then my last one, I'm going to just go crazy on this one. Sort of newer group, not new right now necessarily, but in relatively compared to some of these other groups that we're going to do, probably one of the greatest soloists of all time. I'm going Dragon Force, Herman Lee and Sam Topman.
Are you serious?
I'm going to pull those ones out here because I thought
I was the only one that's going to have that on my list.
Yeah, no,
and
I gotta.
It wasn't my next pick. It wasn't my next pick, but this pick again, I could kind of bracket it the same way as you. Newer pick, not the greatest or whatever, however you said it, but totally influential in the type and style of music that I love. And honestly, Steve, you mentioned them earlier, but I'm going with Korn and Monkey and Head.
Yeah.
The new metal side of things. They're probably the best on that with two guitarists. So
yeah.
Some great riffs there, man. So
yeah. Well, did Monkey spell his name different? His name's James Schaefer, but I'm trying. Munky.
Brian Head Welch and James Munky, maybe.
Yeah. It is crazy to me that all original members of that group are still around. Isn't that wild? right?
And the fact that they have half of them have gotten saved and half of them have not, and then some got saved and fell away. That whole story to me is just
that where
amazing.
Fieldy is now?
Well, I think their drummer passed away, right?
No.
No, the original guy didn't. They didn't have anybody there. Okay, well then
he tried to get back in the band, but they didn't want him. Of course, they have Ray back there. Ray is phenomenal.
Yeah.
All right, so we are now to the final pick, Mr. Irrelevant, Kirk. Oh wait, I did this all wrong. What in the world did
Steve?
Yeah.
I can't believe you picked Dragon Force. That's awesome because we just were talking about them, and Cannon and I were listening to them today on the way to work, as well as Metallica and everything else.
I'm going to call Mr. Irrelevant. It's going to be one that y'all probably never would have guessed.
Okay.
This is a group that was always accused of being an AC/DC sound-alike, and that would be the band Kix.
Okay.
With Ronnie Youngkins and Brian Forsythe playing guitar.
Okay.
Very underrated band, man. Very underrated. They got pigeonholed because they sounded too much like AC/DC.
I honestly, I probably know a song by them. I'm just blanking on them right now.
Yeah, they had a few hits.
They had a few hits.
Yeah.
I gotta look up the discography real quick.
That's a good. That's a deep cut. That's a good call.
Okay,
I like it.
I mean, perfect pick for Mr. Irrelevant.
The one song I know by them doesn't sound anything like AC/DC, so I have to listen to their other stuff. But
yeah, so
the music maybe not so much as the vocals, you know.
So we got some folks leaving. Pick and Preacher said Brian just spoke at his church. Or at a church there, and Foxx is out. I'll send those chapters over, see what you think. And then he said Fieldy nor Dave are a part of the band anymore.
Well, Dave was the drummer, right? So Fieldy, the bassist, I didn't realize he wasn't a part of the band anymore.
Yeah, he hasn't been there for a while. No, there's kind of a mystery what's going on, you know. I mean, he's one of the ones that got saved, you know, and
oh, really?
I don't know if he's struggling with still being in the band, you know. I mean, Brian obviously is handling it. It seems to be handling it pretty good, but
yeah,
has to be a really strange dynamic when you get saved and you're still in that kind of band, you know. I mean,
yeah.
Jonathan Davis can be kind of over the top.
That was one of the first books that, and I didn't read it completely through, but that somebody gave to me, one of the fellow students that I was in Bible college with. And I was talking about, man, how I really loved like 90s music, new metal, all grunge, alternative. If there anything out here that's Christian like this, you know, that whole story. And one of the guys that was a student, Keith Woodcock, that was there, he brought me the book of Brian's story, Brian Hill Welch's story. And I read most of it. I flipped through the rest of it, and just a great thing. And then I watched was it on YouTube? I don't remember where I watched it, but like just a kind of a rockumentary about it all too. And that was really cool as well.
Yeah. How cool is that scene where he's at the same festival with them.
Right.
They ask him to play blind with them, and he introduces him, and he comes out with his guitar over his head, and the place is going nuts, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be 100,000 people, and they are freaking out.
Yeah. I really got into Korn big time when I joined the military. And a lot of the guys that I was on tour with and stuff like that were really rocking out. And I was like, man, these guys are awesome. I mean, I listened to them, but not like I did then, like military. So anyways, great show. Steve, that Flipper dude, you can find him all over the place, hanging around in the comments and things on YouTube and Instagram. But he does have an eBay channel or an eBay store. And if you guys ever need to go to Galveston for spring break, man, go and support him with his Airbnb. Steve, tell everybody how they can find you, what you got coming up next. Like, is there anything really cool that you might be doing, you're thinking of? And man, you're always invited to the show. Thank you for being here. And yeah, tell everybody what they can do to find you.
I'm that flipper dude on Instagram, and right now that's about it. I mean, I still toying around with the idea of a YouTube channel, but haven't dove off into it yet. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Picking Preacher's in here, and he's talking about Marilyn Manson, which is weird. And this is just a weird dynamic. But you and him were kind of co-hosts together over on his channel.
Yeah,
and I really miss that. And I know Keith's on a different season, and so are you. But man, whenever that jumps back in, if that ever does, I'm excited to see it again. It was to kind of go through the games with all the guests. So if you guys really just can't get enough of Steve and even Pickin' Preacher, you can go over to their Pickin' Preacher's channel, and he's doing some really amazing stuff. He's got a great giveaway that he's doing, and building it up over a series of time, and just really cool channel over there too. And then Steve's been a great supporter of us, as well as Keith and all the other people in the chat. Thank you guys for all hanging out here. Let's see, what do we have up next? So next week, Cellcast. Drew is on. Drew is a part of the Culture Box over there. Just one of the two are going to be on, which I don't understand. I guess we never even asked, but why the other one wasn't on there either. But we do have a new guy. His name is John. John will be on the show, and John is from all the way across the world in Denmark, I think. I said Sweden or Switzerland. He's in somewhere over there. And he's going to be on the show next week. We're going to talk about the albums that define you. So basically, what are the 4 albums? If you give somebody wanted to know who you were, you're going to give them these 4 albums, and that's you. So that's going to be a fun show. And we've got a lot planned up. I am already booked into the middle of August for us, Andy. We have just booked the second week of August, which is nostalgia. And we have 3 of the shows in sports already booked, which is September and October. And guys, last year we were like, hey, do you want to be on the show? When? Thursday. Can you be on Thursday? Now we're like, hey, we got people that are like emailing us and asking us, and it really, it's not to do this. It's all God. And I'm so appreciative and just the connections we made. But people are like, hey, can we get on the show? And I'm like, dude, you can, but unless you want to do a show, top 4 Batman movies that is going to be on, that we got a guy coming on that needs another friend to come on. If you want to do that, sure, you can jump in. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till September. And it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. So thank you. That's a testament to all of you guys. Thank you guys for being so amazing. 7 of you guys hanging around, listening to us talk about thrash metal and guitar duos mainly today. But fun show, great time. Andy, you got anything coming up soon? What you got?
Not anything I know of. That's great.
I talked a lot about me today, and I just wanted to make sure I gave you an opportunity. Top 4 Jinko style pants that were not Jinkos.
Trip. It has to be Trip pants. 100%. No, I'm gonna go.
Have you seen the short or the reel, I guess, of the lady trying to explain to her kids Jinko pants, and she's wearing them, and she's like putting in like a water bottle and a laptop, and she's putting in all these things, and her kids are like, "You wore this?" It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Kickwear, Lee pipes, plugs. Pickin' Preacher, did you wear Jinkos? There's the story.
I know he did. He had to have.
Yeah, Keith had to have.
So last night on one of the shows I was watching, they were talking about jorts and how they're coming back, and I was dying laughing listening to them. Jinkos now are like $400. Heck yes, I did. So I had one pair of Jinkos in my life. I bought them. I was like, yes, I finally got my pair. They had this like freaking plastic green, like bright green, like brighter than this green, like plastic stripe down the middle, and it was pleated all weird. And when I started dating my wife, she secretly threw them away, so I'd stop wearing them. And weeks or months later, I was like, "Hey, have you seen those pants?" And she's like, "No." And then like years later, she was like, "Yeah, I threw those things away." Yeah. And I was like, "Man, really? That's the one pair I had."
That's cold-blooded.
Yeah, man. They had like these bright green down the middle, and they had like the pleats. You could put something in the freaking pleat. They were so big, right here on the knee, and they were huge. And that was the only pair I had. And she tossed them. I was so mad. I got to find out how much are they worth. Picking Preacher, go find. While you're picking, you're doing that. Look and see how much they're worth. I secretly want a pair.
He wants a pair.
Well, look, man, it's been late. We already started late, and the show's going late. Let's do this. Andy, let's tell everybody good night. We'll see you guys next week. Do me a favor, all the people out there, if you've made it this far, make sure you hit the like before you jump out. Go hit some comments in some of the comment sections along. Help us get those last few minutes. If you're not doing anything at work tomorrow, throw your phone on and let it play in the background. That would be beautiful. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us at all times. Can't wait to do it again. Andy, tell everybody good night.
Hey, go vote on our Instagram post tomorrow. It'll be posted. I'm actually working on it.
Yeah, I'm definitely losing this one because you guys are nailing the one side of this.
Well, it's either if me or Steven win, it's a win for either of us because we have half of each other's lists. So,
Yeah,
it's a win-win right now. But no, I appreciate you guys, Steve. Again, I appreciate you for being here. Sorry for
thanks for having me.
Playoffs this fantasy football season. Do what I had to do.
You guys need to come into baseball. We'll see what happens.
I would
no. Hey, Keith, it had zero graffiti. I don't even think it had a patch. It might have had a patch on the back, but it was dark denim, all of it. And it had bright green, like plastic, like almost like I don't know. It was thick plastic piping. So, yeah, no graffiti. Not that I remember. I don't think so.
Yeah. All right. Well, just to mention this too, I am working on my book right now. So that's in the illustration phase. My children.
Wait, you're working on what?
My book.
Oh yeah, dude! I can't wait. I cannot wait.
I need it to be illustrated.
Pretty soon, I'm gonna have to just illustrate it for you because I'm ready to get this thing out. I'm ready to see it.
I know. I'm ready for it too. But it's gonna be good. Other than that, I think it's time to say goodnight. Steve, thanks for hopping on.
Yep.
Always love chatting with you. Click vote on the Instagram post tomorrow. Don't just like it. I love that you guys like our post. We have like 30 likes on it, but 4 votes. Come on.
Yeah.
Just
everybody hits the heart button, but never goes to vote.
Look, here's the thing. If you don't know what to pick because you're not well versed in it, just vote for me. Like it's easy. And you don't really have to.
I mean, it really is a popularity contest.
It is. So vote for me. Come on. Anyway, no. Love you guys. Hey, let's say goodnight like we always do. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4.
It's your turn, Steve.
Nothing more. And nothing more.
There you go. Peace.